beat matching, beat keeping on vinyl. Hard to master, lots of practice is needed. Wanted to do a video to show you guys the way that I do things. Might not be the way that you do it, but hopefully there's some stuff here that you find useful, might help you on the way. So we're going to go through some fairly basic stuff. Equipment, what all of this stuff is, why we've got it, what is our objective, what are we trying to do. We'll then move into a few fairly basic principles of starting to beat match before we actually do a live demonstration of beat matching. Now I may say this a couple of times through the video, but I think that it's important. I've not got any headphones that I'm going to be using. As we go through the video that'll become a lot clearer why, but you guys can't hear what you need to hear if I can only hear it in my headphones. So I'm going to be using two live channels. Again, as we go through the video, I'll explain what all of this stuff means. So, equipment wise, what at a very kind of high level have we got here? Two turntables, and those two turntables have got a pitch control on them that allows me to speed the song up and to also slow it down. And therefore, why do we have that? What's the point of that? Well, the whole objective of what we're trying to do is to mix one song here into that song there. And the beats per minute have got to be identical. So beats per minute, if you count every beat throughout the course of 60 seconds, you will get to a number. This is trance music, usually about 135 to 140 something beats per minute. I've got both of these two records at the moment set on 0 pitch. You can see the green light hopefully, that means that they're on 0 pitch. Unless I'm very lucky, this record here that I want to mix into that record there will not be running at the same speed. So I'm going to have to either speed it up or slow it down. Really just depends on training your ears to hear what that record is doing. You don't want to think about this record, the audience can hear that, you don't want to touch it. This is the only record that you want to touch. And as I say, you would usually hear that as the DJ through headphones. But today, you guys are going to hear it like I would normally hear through the headphones. So that's our basic equipment, basic objectives. Before we get into any other kind of equipment, visual of what we're trying to do here, the first thing that I'd really encourage folks to do is to listen to the music that you've got. Hear what's happening, what I call the unique elements of the tracks that you're mixing together. If I just take this track back to the beginning, so I can hear a beat, I can hear cymbals or a hi-hat, and I can hear that kind of noise. I would want to listen to that if I'm mixing this song, because I'm trying to gauge whether those noises, the noise or the hi-hats or even the beat, are running behind the song that's playing or in front of the song that's playing. So if I get this record up, we'll hear the difference there. So again, you can hear a beat, you can hear hi-hat, cymbals. There's a kind of a little swirly noise or something in there. But the point is it sounds different to that song that was playing a moment ago. And therefore that's what I'm trying to listen to in my headphones, but as you guys will hear on that channel, when I'm trying to beat match. If I don't know whether that song is going too fast or too slow, I'm not going to be able to change the pitch accordingly to get it in time with that song. If you try and guess it, it becomes very hard work. It's literally lottery type stuff. You might get it if you're very lucky, as in beat, but it's unlikely and you're not going to learn from that. Listen to the music that you've got, recognise some of the key parts of it, the unique elements, and try and listen whether that song is going too fast or too slow to that song. Again, remember, you would normally only hear that song in your headphones. The crowd won't hear it, which means that you've got to use this ear, or depending on which way around the headphones are, to listen to the music that the crowd can hear. Essentially, you're trying to use one ear to listen to one song and one ear to listen to the other song. And that's where your brain can become frazzled very, very quickly until you've trained your ears to do that. So the way I try and break that down, as I've mentioned, listening for those unique elements in the track that you're wanting to mix into the track that's playing. If you can almost isolate them to the noise that you're hearing there, you're not going to go too far wrong eventually. So that's kind of rule number one for me. Always listen to the music that you've got, that you want to mix with. It will help you. Second thing is cueing. So I'm going to cue this track up here and I'm going to put this one back on. So cueing, what is that? Why do we do it? Cueing is simply finding the first beat of the song that you're looking to mix. You'll see DJs spinning the record round and pulling it back to find that first beat. So that record is now queued up on the first beat, but before I do anything else, again, some basic principles of cueing. You're trying to cue that song in time of the beat of this song. So when that beat comes in, it's on the beat of that song. A bit like this. Because when I release that song, in other words, I let the record play, it's important that it's on the beat of that record there. Also, I don't want to release it too fast and I don't want to be too slow. It makes getting it in beat a lot harder. So practice the cueing. Literally just practice cueing that record backwards and forwards in time with the beat of that record. Think about the release of the record. As I said, don't force it forward or don't be too lazy and just kind of let it go and it's behind. Try and do it so it's in time. It won't be in time with that record the longer that record plays. That's where we need to adjust the pitch. So let's have a bit of a play about with riding or adjusting the pitch. Again, these records are both on 0 pitch. It's highly unlikely they will be in time with each other. It means that I'm going to have to adjust the speed of this record, and what I'm listening for is to try and hear whether it's going too far in front or too far behind this record here. And again, that's where those unique elements really come in. I know what that record sounds like now. I know what I'm trying to listen for. What I'm trying to then listen for is whether those unique elements are going too far in front or too far behind the record there. So let's cue this one up when that beat comes in. We'll see what goes on and we'll go from there. So, you will have heard that does not sound right, it doesn't sound good, it's like trainers in a dishwasher, tumble dryer, whatever you put them in. It's out of beat, it's out of beat. I heard that song was going too fast. The beat was in front of the beat of that record. When the hi-hats and cymbals come in, they're going to be in front of the hi-hats and cymbals of that record. So I know that that pitch is set too fast, I need to slow it down. But how much do I need to slow it down? There's no numbers on turntables. Unlike the CDJs where you can look at them and say 135, 134, so I need to speed that one up. You don't have that here. That's where you've got to train the ears. And that does take time and it does take a lot of practice. So I know I need to slow this record down, but I don't know how much by. So I'm going to now adjust that pitch, knowing that I've got to go slower, not faster. So I'm going to move it upwards. As strange as that sounds, that's slowing the record down. And I'm going to see what happens. As those two records start to get in beat together, what we're looking for, and what we're trying to hear, is almost like an echoey sound where two beats are perfectly aligned. You almost get a bit of an echo. That's what you guys should hear if I can do that. So let's get this queued up. Let's see what happens. Okay, so hopefully you heard that. As I started out when I released the record, for maybe 2 or 3 beats it sounded in beat, but it very quickly fell out of beat. It was going too fast. I used the pitch to slow it down, and then I had to speed it up a little bit more. And what hopefully we heard was that kind of echoey sound where 2 beats come together as one, as cheesy as that sounds. I'm now in a window, as I call it. That record is not too far away from being in beat with that record there. What I would usually do at this point is I'd keep re-cueing it and practicing what I'm hearing. Is it going a little bit too slow now or a little bit too fast now? And now I'm going to make very, very minor adjustments to the pitch. You don't need to be as aggressive as I've just done there. We're talking very, very small, almost millimetre or two, to keep them running in beat for a more prolonged period. The idea of mixing is that you don't kind of just want to put one record in and take the other one out within like 3 seconds. Some people will do a mix that can last minutes, and that may require some manipulation of the record that you're mixing. Again, these are analog turntables, they're not digital. The pitch will just inherently, because of the nature of vinyl, it will fluctuate by tiny, tiny amounts, but that's all it takes. So you'll see a lot of DJs using hands to speed the record up or to slow it down. There's nothing wrong with that, barring 2 things that I would just ask you to bear in mind. One, if I speed the record up or slow it down when I'm live in the mix, you'll hear this. Not great. People will hear that if you're live in the mix, but if you have to do it to save the mix, if it's going too far out of beat, then do it. Always better to do that than completely lose the whole thing. Secondly though, and for me this is kind of the real fundamental point, remember what's going on here. This is vinyl sat on top of something that's going at a certain speed. That something is called a platter. So just touching the vinyl just speeds the vinyl up momentarily. It does not change the speed of the platter, which is what ultimately is running the vinyl at the speed it's running at. If you make any manual adjustments, whether live in the mix or just as you're getting it ready for the mix, you've got to change the pitch control. Again, we should be talking tiny, tiny amounts. Those tiny amounts can be the difference between hearing this and not hearing it. There's no point speeding the vinyl up and not adjusting the speed of the platter. You will be constantly fighting it, and that's what the crowd are going to hear. So again, quick recap. We've got this record here roughly in beat with the record that you can hear. I'm now going to re-cue it up, and I'm going to let them play for longer than I did. I'm going to probably have to manipulate this record. I'm going to try and not use my hands to speed it up or slow it down for the reasons that I've mentioned. I'm going to slightly make changes to the pitch. Okay, so not great. I had to do quite a lot of very subtle speed ups and slow downs to keep it in beat. You'll have heard it dropping slightly out. You'll have then heard a little bit that echo sound that we're trying to achieve. Remember, you would normally do everything I've just done in the headphones, not at the end of the mix of one record when you're trying to mix the other one in and do all of that. You would normally have done it in your headphones, and when you're bringing that record in, your confidence should be quite high that it is almost perfectly in beat. And that is what I'd ask you to go away and practice, guys. Forget the headphones, chuck them away for one moment, right? Practice 2 records live with the channels up and hear what both of your ears can hear, not just one. As you get used to what that record is doing, you can gradually move to headphones and recognise that I can now hear that song there and this song there. And that just takes a lot of practice and a lot of time. You're going to get it wrong and you're going to get really frustrated, chuck the towel in and say, it's ridiculous, I don't want to do it. Just keep practicing. Believe me, one day it will all just come together. Now finally, as these records are kind of in beat, technically, if I now do the opposite of what I've just done, cue this record up and mix it into that one, the beat should be quite similar. Again, it's going to need a little bit of adjustment because that one wasn't perfect. But this is where, when you've got 2 records in beat, go back from one to the other and back to the other and forth. It'll help you just get used to hearing what in beat sounds like. So let's have a bit of a play about, just see what happens. So I'm using my hand to manually speed that one up, as you hopefully saw. I'm also trying to gently increase that pitch. The green light didn't go off, but that doesn't mean the pitch hasn't gone up a bit. I can hear right now they're not in beat. So honestly, just practice. That was not great by anybody's stretch of the imagination, but we're kind of just having a bit of fun. The roughly in beat, I've had to take this one off of 0 pitch, the green light's out, because it was running a little bit behind that one. It was then going a bit too quick, so I had to put it back on 0 pitch or the green light. Just play about with it, guys, right? Just have a bit of fun, see what happens. Honestly, once you've cracked it, it's really, really worth the effort. I hope you found this useful. There might be some stuff here that's a little bit of a teaching old dogs new tricks, but then again there might be a little bit of everybody knows this already. Let me know in the comments what you think. If there's anything more you want to see, also be good to hear about that as well. Thanks for watching, guys. Cheers.